From the rivers of the wild, wild west to the watery expanses of Canada, this issue of Kayak Fish Video Magazine is full of non-stop kayak fishing action. Out West Texas way, Robert Field and friends shoot the Pecos Rapids in search of bass, while in the Great White North, the Jackson Kayak team throws frogs for topwater muskie. Florida angler Brian Nelly gets his first taste of California Yellowtail, and Chris Funk shows us why those kayak weight limits matter. Hang on to your seat cushion, because Kayak Fish Video Magazine starts now.
Heraclitus once said, "No man ever steps in the same river twice, for it is not the same river, and he is not the same man." These words lingered in my mind as we drove through the Texas desert towards the lower Pecos River. Bert and Dan Rodriguez, father and son, attempted to paddle this same stretch 2 years ago. They learned firsthand just how rivers can change both themselves and the men who attempt to navigate them. Halfway through their trip, flash floods 100 miles upriver caught up with them, sweeping their kayaks and gear downstream and forcing them to evacuate via helicopter. Now, 2 years later, Bert and Dan have returned to the Pecos to finish what they started. The Pecos River Basin is a wild and inhospitable place, riddled with cactus, scorpions, rattlesnakes, wild mustangs, and mountain lions. The landscape is vast, and with civilization a week's hike through the desert away, the stakes are higher here than anywhere else I've paddled.
Pecos River, man, doesn't make anything easy.
He's got his paddle.
Dude, he's coming at me, man.
That would not feel good.
Oh!
These are just incredible animals to spend a little time with. They are not afraid of us, that is for sure.
The father and son duo invited me along to document the trip, and our foursome is rounded out by Daniel Underbrink, an experienced outdoorsman who has paddled this river several times. The Pecos took much from Bert and Dan 2 years ago, but it offered them wisdom and experience in exchange. They've returned different men than they were back then, and if I make it out of this place alive, the odds are good that I'll leave this river a changed man myself.
And he's strong. Nice. And he nailed it, and I caught him too. That is too cool. Big fish in the trip so far. Nice fish, man.
These petroglyphs were carved by the indigenous people in this region, and these are about 3,000 years old.
Solid Pecos River largemouth. It's a good one. Seems like every 10th cast or so we're hooking up. Today's shaping up to be one of the better days of my life, I think. This place is just incredible. I'll tell you what, sure beats a day in the office.
It was just fish after fish. There was always someone yelling "fish on" in the background, so it was just an awesome place to come fish and experience nature.
Algonquin Park is the coolest place in the world. Lake Traverse sits kind of like the northeast of it, and you're basically so far away from population, you get to experience all of Mother Nature's beauty. We saw moose, we saw bear, we saw deer, we saw beaver, we saw muskie, we saw muskie, we saw muskie. And no matter what I did, I just got to see them blow up on my frog, and that's it. I never got to land one, so not muskie after muskie after muskie. Stupid fish. Now it was actually great just seeing them blow up and torpedo the thing. I mean, they came out of nowhere and just exploded on it. They have terrible aim, by the way. Lake Traverse trip was not only for muskie, it was an overnight. We did 2 nights at a campground and we didn't see a soul the whole time, and we're knee-deep in nature.
Canada looks a lot like home to me. Lots of open space, except for way more water and a lot more fish. Fish just everywhere.
Not really sure what to expect in coming up to Canada. I knew that there was a lot of pristine water up here, and it definitely held up to my expectations. It was a beautiful place, tons of greenery and awesome foliage, and the waters were just as epic as described.
All right, tell us about Canada.
My name's Kevin Nakata. I work for Hobie Cat, and I own a company called Sea Samurai, which is a guide service out here in California. And Brian Nelly decided to come out to California and test his Florida skills on these awesome fish we have out here, California Yellowtail, Sheephead. We had a really good trip, and he got to see a lot of techniques that I've used out here for years, and he really just did well. I mean, he did awesome, killed it. So we caught 4 yellowtail on the first day within an hour. It was insane. We get there to the launch on Monday, and I heard that the water got cold. I mean, really cold. The water went from 76 degrees to 66 degrees, which is crazy. I've never seen any drop like that in the ocean before, ever. Brian's coming into town from Florida, spending 3 days to catch fish, and if we don't catch fish, like, I'm not going to be happy. He's not going to be too happy either, so we have to go and catch them. And we get there at the launch, it's beautiful out, the sun is shining brightly, there's no wind at all. There was like ankle slapper waves. Beautiful, beautiful day. What I was really worried about is, you know, spending time making bait. And before, on Saturday, it took me 4 hours to make 4 baits, or 2 hours to make 4 baits. So it's bad finding this big bait pile. We made bait in like 15 minutes, fully loaded, stacked, ready to go fishing. Right off the bat, we drop a bait in the water that was like probably 11 o'clock. He gets bit by a yellowtail. We use 30 to 40 pound fluorocarbon. It's about 6 feet long. It's a straight braid, which, you know, most people in the community, the fishing community, use nowadays, a straight braid. And what we do out here is we troll our live baits, and with no stinger hooks at all in the baits. So it's really important for people that are fishing these baits to this live bait, which, you know, ranges from 6 inches to 10 inches, 12 inches. It's really important for people to understand that the fish needs to get eaten, the bait needs to be eaten, and the fish needs to be able to turn the bait around in its mouth and get the head down towards the throat. So with only one hook in the nostrils of the bait, you need to make this hook stick into the corner of the mouth of the fish. So if you don't give the bait enough time to be eaten, the problem is that you'll pull the bait out of the fish's mouth all the time. So one of the things that I teach to people is for them to hold the reel while they're pedaling, because we use Hobies, while you're pedaling, and then when you feel the strike, you're going to let it go for about 6 seconds. Yellowtail is it makes one of those runs that is just so glorious. It's just so full speed, and right off the bat, it's just so the rod was like almost getting yanked out of his arm like right away. And he's like, "Oh, come on!" And after that, you know, a good 5-minute fight, and it was all over with. But that first strike for anyone, I think, is just like, for yellowtail, this is, I don't know about the rest of the world, but like that first time you ever get bit by the target species you're going after is just like so amazing. You know, I don't care like if it's a bass or if it's bluegill. Like every single angler must go through this same feeling. Who's the owner of Push and Water Kayak Charters in Florida, is one of the better, if not one of the best kayak anglers in the industry, and I think a lot of people would say the same thing. He definitely is the kayak angler of the future. That, in my opinion, that's the way I would put it. The kayak angler of the future.
Thank you, Lord. We found one decent one that would come out and play. What a gorgeous fish. This is why you keep putting little ones back. gorgeous showy. Thank you. Yeah, I owe a lot to the shoal bass, because shoal bass was the first fish that I photographed for a magazine, and that opened up doors to a lot of fun adventures. The reason you're looking at me here now on Kayak Fish video magazine, but it was all started, so you could say that the shoal bass was my gateway drug.
Hey y'all, had a pretty good morning out on the stand-up paddle board, doing what I call grocery shopping out there, catching a few little old small spotted bass. Decided to make up our smoked fish dip, which is one of our favorites. It's an involved process as far as the brines and all for cooking the fish. Now, you know, what I'll do is I'll show you the recipe we use, and I'll just put it up right here so you can pause the video and write down this if you like. It works really good for us. There's a lot of different options out there, you know, depending on what flavor profile you want in your fish. Since this is going in a dip, this actually works the best for us. Now, the main thing you need to remember on the brines is you're going to have to heat them up in order for all your stuff to dissolve. But don't put that hot brine on your fish. Make sure you ice it down before you put your fish in and let it soak. Now, 3 hours to 4 hours at the most. 3 hours is perfect. 4 hours is almost too much. So don't run it too long on a filleted fish, especially a mild, you know, tasting fish like these spots. So this will work with about anything you wanted to try, but for us, this is one of our favorites, so I'm going to do it with these. I'm going to go get the smoker ready, and I'm going to use applewood on that because it's a real mild smoke. So hopefully, you know, get these done, then we'll come back and start assembling that dip for you. Keep a close eye on them fish. They'll get done real quick. Alright, our batch of smoked fish just came out and it looks awesome. We're going to take about 12 ounces of this chopped up real fine to go into our dip. Now, you know, you can kind of eyeball it. The main thing is you want fish in every scoop of dip, so make sure you've got enough meat in there to make it interesting, because us meat eaters like that kind of stuff. Now, don't get excited seeing all this stuff over here. I'm going to go ahead and measure it up, but again, I'll just put the recipe right here. Just pause the video, and that way you can write down what you need to. It'll work out good for you, and we'll just start putting it all together. Alright, I went ahead and mixed all the ingredients over here. You want to do that so you make sure that everything gets stirred up really good before you put the fish in. Now, the fish, I've cut it up in little old tiny pieces. I'm just going to fold it into the dip. You don't want to sit there and just beat it to death in there, you'll lose all the fish. I want you to be able to get a piece of it. Every time you take a bite off that cracker, you're going to get a little bit of that smoked fish. So we're just going to fold this in, put it in the fridge. We'll come back later to check it out. Alright y'all, after it's had a chance to sit in the fridge for a little while and cool down, I mean, it's creamy, it spreads on a cracker good. You get a bite of that smoky fish with every bite, It's a little bit of trouble to make, but I promise you it's worth it. Y'all try it out and let me know what you think. Y'all take care.